I was a number of years already in Canada.
Quick question. Did you get your medical practice in Romania?
Yes, I qualified, I got educated. I went in the first place to art school, to fine arts, into classical music, and I learned violin, piano, and trombone. And then I did something that nobody ever did. I attempted the exam for medical school, and they couldn't believe it. They have never seen anything like that. They were reluctant to accept even my papers because they have never heard of, a musician trying to go
get
to
into
medical
med
school. Yeah.
It's always the other way around. Like you need the foundation for science, then you can segue into other careers.
Yes.
But usually it's more difficult for somebody to move from
It
any other
was
field into
incredibly
science.
difficult for me to study all those things after the music,
Getting
and
brain wired.
even the university staff tried to discourage me. But I wrote the exam and I passed and I got in, and I one of the top students and qualified to the perfect 10 after 6 years. The medical school, the basic medical school is 6 years, and then there are 3 years of internship, and then come the residency. It's a very, very long training.
That's a long program.
Yes, but I defected less than 3 years after qualifying. So I was still rotating internship, rotating intern, whatever you want to call it. And I was preparing for a career in thoracic surgery. It didn't happen, but I am still very, very happy with the outcome, because getting a license for foreign graduates was, and I think it still is a nightmare. It's an
Canada.
absolute nightmare.
It
Yeah.
is. A lot
Yeah.
of doctors are here driving like Uber, and
Yes,
skip the
yes.
dishes, and
Yeah,
doing
working
like
in
minimum
pizza.
wage job, working at the pizza places and flipping burgers.
And when in fact the country would need more doctors.
and pharmacists.
Yes,
As you
and
can tell, like
pharmacists.
the pharmacy you shop at, they don't have a full-time pharmacist. It's just really
It's so difficult for you guys
really
also.
pharmacists. Yeah, it's challenging in that only 39% of international grads pass the evaluating exam, which is the same exam that
For the pharmacists.
for pharmacists, 39% pass the eval exam, and it's basically evaluating your education from your home country to say, okay, what you've completed in the pharmacy curriculum is equivalent to a bachelor's here in Canada. However, the bachelor's in Canada has been phased out, so the minimum to get into pharmacy school is a doctor of pharmacy degree, which takes about 7 years. So you have to go in first, get your first degree. And
So
then move
why
into the
do you
program.
think that they make
It's
life
so
so
challenging?
difficult for foreign grads, pharmacists, and doctors?
Right.
You don't know for doctors, but you may have
I know, like
an idea for pharmacists.
Yeah, for all health professionals, but especially for doctors and pharmacists. I think they're trying to maintain this, I don't want to call it a facade of a gold standard here, because I think that the exam is like the most challenging part of the entire journey, and it's a way of like weeding out people.
I will tell you what I think. Why is it so incredibly difficult for doctors? First of all, the exam is incredibly unfair. People arrive to Canada, they are doctors, and then the college tell the politicians, okay, we have to test them, we have to check them out to see
If
what their
they are
knowledge is.
qualified.
Could they possibly practice in Canada or not? And the Americans do the same thing, but there is a big, big difference. I wrote the American exam and I passed without any problem. And it was at the time a 2-day exam, now it's 3-day exam. In the past it was called ECFMG, and now it's USMLE. Every letter stands for something. But the American exam, while longer than the Canadian, was far, far more fair
than the one they have
in
here.
Canada. The exam in Canada had been crafted in a way to fail as many people as they could, and those very few who would pass would not get residency trainings.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a must. So when I passed my exam, it was basically for nothing, because I was not better off whatsoever compared to those who never passed the exam. And yeah, it's not very funny, but that's how it was.
Dr. Jard, what do you mean by you weren't better off than those who didn't pass?
Because I passed, but I was still working in other fields and whatever, because I was not not given a residency. Yeah,
it's the same thing for pharmacists. Like, you don't get like the pharmacy schools here in Canada have an agreement with these organizations like the hospitals, so they send the students there for rotation. When you move here as an international grad, you don't get that opportunity. There's no open door there. Like, there's literally no door. There's no door, and so there's no open door, so you could go in and become like a geriatric pharmacist or.
But I will tell you what is behind this, and I am absolutely convinced that I'm correct here. I think that the local doctors want to protect their turf. They do not want competition. They don't want competition, and they do everything they can in order that foreign grads who would be so welcome by the public, generally speaking, but that's ensure,
what I don't understand.
Yeah,
because
I got my so-called training, not very much, in Newfoundland. I spent 8 years in Newfoundland until I got a full Canadian license.
Wow.
I worked on what is called a provisional license, which had to be renewed every year.
We do that too.
And the abuse I had to go through, and the few who were in my situation were absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it's true that immigrants don't get fairly treated in some regards, but I have been one of the fortunate few. I did have a case where a manager tried to sabotage me, but I'm not the kind of person who's gonna just roll over and let you do whatever.
No.
I stood in the gap and I advocated for myself and those who were coming behind me. I was there for 3 months, but I actually just like put my feet down. I'm like, no, and I actually wrote
Did
them.
you train in Kingston?
In Jamaica? Yeah. I studied in Kingston.
In Kingston, Jamaica, because there is a Kingston in Canada also, yeah, and it has medical and pharmacy school.
There are a lot of places here that have names similar to Jamaica, and I think it's because we were both British colony. Like, Canada is a British colony, Jamaica is a British colony, so we have like.
Is Jamaica part of what is called the West Indies?
Yes, and we're also part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, that's different, but some people, you know, you try to Google them or to find something, and a profile or something, and they say qualified whatever year, University of West Indies.
Yeah.
But there are more medical schools. For instance, in Grenada there is a medical school,
yes,
and there are on some of the other islands. I'm not exactly sure.
Most of the doctors from the other islands train in Jamaica.
Okay.
But Cuba they are in their own world. Cuba.
Yeah,
but
that
anyway,
is very, very different.
That's different.
My own family doctor here in Timmins, Dr. Koss, he trained initially in Grenada. And then he had a very hard time because he came back. He was a Canadian citizen, born and raised in Canada, but he was still treated like a foreign grad.
Yeah, that's what I was saying recently. Someone from Ghana reached out and saying they want to come to Canada to become a pharmacist, and I'm like, why would you do something like that? And the reason I say this is because it's extremely difficult to get into pharmacy school here in Canada. Very competitive. I once had an assistant, Mike, back in 2020, and he applied to pharmacy school for 5 years in a row and never got in. So he went on to do nursing, which is fine because, you know, rejection is redirection. But it's incredibly difficult to get into pharmacy school here in Canada. You first have to do an undergrad degree and then get into the program. And it's a total of 7 years. And when they graduate, they have a high student loan burden and debt, and that is where I think the growth come in, because foreign grads, we pay way less based on our currency,
Yeah.
and when we move here, we are making similar amounts. Hopefully, that's not always the case.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah.
Yeah, that we're not gatekeeping. That's not always the case. They will not
And-
pay you what they will pay them.
Yeah.
But when you get here, they have high student debt, and you reach here and you're debt free.
That's correct.
And that is the
That
problem.
incredible.
And then some of the
But they don't know
people,
that.
some of them know, and they are resentful about it. I know people who know, and they're feeling like foreign grads are coming to take their jobs, and we're collecting way less, because somebody would offer you $50, $60, $70, and you'd be like, of course I'll take it, because where you're coming from, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know.
But the concern, at least at the doctors, and maybe the same for the pharmacists, let's assume there is a big pie. And
Everybody takes a
that
piece of the
must
pie.
feed all of the doctors in a certain province, like say in Ontario
Ontario,
or
yeah.
in Saskatchewan, in Newfoundland, in Nova Scotia, whatever. And if there are new people getting into practice, then the
That's less-
slices
less
will
for
be
you, smaller.
much smaller. And that's why they are so adamant.
Protect their turf.
Yeah, and that's why exams and everything going on in the States is much more fair, because they don't have this kind of BS
Competition.
system.
But they're
And they get internships and they get residencies. I will give you just one
True.
example.
It's true.
I was in the country for about 20 years or so, 15 years, and I did have already a permanent license, and on top of that, I got a how was it called? Portable license, allowing me
To go
to
from
go to
province to
any
province.
I could settle down anywhere in Canada.
right.
And at that time, a very, very good friend of mine from Romania came to Canada. He was now married and had a little daughter. And they called me to Toronto to meet with me so that I could give them advice what to do. His wife was an MD, a medical doctor.
Yeah.
And they told me, okay, you went through everything, you have a license, so you could advise us what to do. And
Which is what I
said-
do
Yeah.
for pharmacists.
And I asked them, would you like to live in Canada? And they said, yes, of course. And I said, and I didn't blink an eye, if you want to live in Canada, you have to relocate to the United States. And they almost passed out. And I asked the young lady, what are you doing now? And she said, I'm going every day to the library and studying for my Canadian exam. And I told her, forget it. You're a smart girl, and effective tomorrow, you figure out what they require for the ECFMG exam, and you start studying for the American exam. And you will pass the American exam, and you will be, hopefully by then, you will be in the United States, and you will send tens and tens and tens of applications to all over United States for residency. And I bet my last buck in my pocket that you will get residency training, and you will have several offers. You will not be flooded with offers, but you will get several offers. And then you will do your residency, and if you still want to come back to Canada, you will not have any major problem, because
Because
it's recognized. It's
Right. You have
the
the
training.
US.
Yeah, Canadian training is recognized in the States, and it's the other way around.
Well,
And that's exactly what happened.
she went to the US.
Yes,
That's
and
nice.
they came back. And the following day, when she went to the library and she told them what I have advised, there were a few other Romanians there studying. And those guys said that, about me that That fellow is an SOB. He is a shame, and he is very happy, and his nose is very high because he got through the system and is teaching you bad things.
No.
And the lady said, I didn't know him, but my husband knows him for very, very many years, and said that this is the most honest person he had ever met. And he seemed to be very honest. And so I will start studying for the American exam, which she did. She passed. She got internship and residency. And the other said, "Oh,
You're
you're
still
right. You are
struggling?"
out of your right Chinese mind." And the guy is just laughing at you. And so that's what they said. About 2-3 years later,
They
these
still
same guys started showing up in the States doing the same thing, only they wasted 2 or 3 years.
Okay, talking about wasted time. For pharmacists, it's similar, but if pharmacists go through the US road, it takes a longer time, and then if they want to come back to Canada, they still have to go through the licensing process, except for Atlantic's provinces, which now accept our license, US-based license,
Yeah,
without,
yeah, because there is a higher need.
there's a high
and
need, there's a demand-supply gap
so
right now.
That's how I went to Newfoundland, because I passed the exam, and you could not practice anywhere unless you also completed an internship or a residency. But it was something I learned, and it was the best news I ever got since I'm in Canada in 40 years. Somebody told me, in Newfoundland, you can get a provisional license. They are so desperate for doctors. If you pass the exam, and you can also have to fulfill 10,000 different criteria,
Oh.
which I have. And so I went
To
on
Newfie.
provisional license. They accepted me. But I couldn't find a place to work, because you need to find a place to work.
And that's where networking comes into play, Dr. George.
But
It's
in
like
the
you have
end,
to
I
start
found
building
a
your network.
place. In the end, I found a place, and then I moved around, and they bounced me around big time, like there is no tomorrow. And when I wrote some of the exams, the last exam, the college, whatever, and the Royal College and whatever exam, during the exam, I got a very, very tough GI bleed during the exam. But I still showed up the next day for the practical skills. And from there, I ended up in the ICU in Halifax, in Nova Scotia.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and the exam you could only write 3 times, not more than 3 times. And they wanted the doctors to give me a paper stating that this man was sick during the exam, so that I could have 3 more chances, not just 2, because he was sick. And in the end, I didn't need anything because I passed the exam
Congratulations.
while bleeding, and the vast majority out of 104. This was for portable license, and out of 104, we were 5 or 6 who passed.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
That-
and I was one of them.
5 out of 100. That's like
Yeah.
less than 5%.
Yeah, and they were not only foreign grads anymore. They were Canadians. And a few years earlier, they were all advised to have training, residency training in some medical centers, not at the university where they studied, where they trained. Go somewhere else.
Right.
Each university, each spot wants new blood or fresh blood or whatever they called it.
Right.
But these guys, very many, intended to return to their provinces. At the time, Newfoundland was by far the poorest province and paying very poorly. Ontario paid more than double, and people who left universities from Ontario to do residency training in St. John's, Newfoundland, could not get back because they didn't pass the exam for portable license. It was horrible, and the provinces would not accept them without that training. Oh, it was
That was
very
tough.
bad.
That
yeah.
was tough.
Yeah, but then I ended up here, and I practiced for 25 years. It was a very difficult job because I did lots and lots and lots of on-calls just by myself. There were periods of time when I was the only doctor, and it was just a nightmare. But anyway, I am doing
You
okay,
survived.
and I have
you
been.
toughed it out. And,
I just received notice that my name was in some newspapers, and I wasn't aware of. But then I learned that it was a very, very nice article about myself. And I asked my friend who told me, I said, can you forward me that article? And he said, I cannot, because it didn't go on the internet, of the newspapers on the internet. Only who bought the actual paper
Got to see
newspaper,
it?
yeah.
Wow.
So I called our own paper here in Timmins, which is called the Daily Press. We used to call it the Daily Mess, and got in touch with some people, and they tracked down some other papers like the Sudbury Star, and I don't know what other papers, and I managed to get the article, yes, which is
That's
very,
good.
very nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's very, very nice, and it was so awkward. I explained to these people at the paper here, you know, it's an article about myself. They say that it's a very nice article, and I have no chance of
To
even
read
seeing it, but
vet
in the
it.
end I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
I was talking to who actually?
Oh,
I
there were people on Instagram, and they were saying stuff like, see, they were typing. They said, oh, they want discussion about working in Canada. Hello, doctor. Hope you're doing well.
Do they hear what we are talking now?
Yes, they can hear us right now.
Would like
They're
to
telling us about the
defend this, and
exam.
let's
Can we move? What is the criteria? Nice to hear you, doctor. Okay. You don't want them to hear?
Yeah, just leave that a little bit. I would like for you to take some selfies or
You want
something.
selfies?
I
Okay.
don't know, some pictures with you.
Dr. George said he wants to take a picture with me, guys. So
Yeah.
tough luck. I'm gonna love y'all and leave y'all. But this was taking like nice view.
Yes.
Right, look,
Mhm.
the lighting is really good. I need to grab my selfie. Oh, I left my.
I have my own phone.
You have your phone?
Yes.
Okay, Dr. George wants us to take selfies. So I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Bye.
Bye.